Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really unconventional, maybe even controversial philosophy for solving family conflict. This comes from a lecture by Jungbub, and let me tell you, it challenges pretty much everything we think we know about family loyalty and what it means to be responsible.
Run away. I mean, that's a shocking piece of advice, right? When your family is in crisis, your first instinct is to dig in, to stay and fight. But the idea here is that fleeing isn't about being a coward, not at all. It's about strategy, and it's rooted in a pretty profound natural law.
And that's the central, really provocative question we're going to explore. We're going to unpack the logic behind this totally radical idea and see how it might just apply to family situations that feel, completely impossible.
Okay, so first, let's paint a picture here. Imagine a family that is just stuck. They're trapped in this awful cycle of debt, of fighting, of suffering. And right in the middle of this whole storm, there's a child, just watching it all happen, feeling totally helpless. So, why on earth is running away presented as the answer? Well, the logic here isn't emotional. It's actually based on a single, powerful concept that completely reframes how you look at the problem.
And this brings us to the core concept, the law of the great nature. This law basically argues that it's not about who's right or who's wrong. The family's dysfunction is a systemic problem. Think of it like a chemical reaction that just keeps going, and the only way to stop it is to remove one of the key elements.
And here's the philosophy's harshest truth. In this dynamic, the child's very presence is the catalyst. Your being there is what triggers the arguments, the debt, the whole dysfunctional mess. Now, it's not your fault, morally speaking, but you are the focal point of the chaos. And because of that, you're preventing your parents from ever recovering.
So if you accept that really tough premise, what do? Well, the source doesn't just say, hey, go leave. No, it gives a very clear, very cold, and strategic plan for this departure. This is not supposed to be some emotional outburst. It's a calculated move.
The plan requires a clean, absolute break. No calls, no letters, no contact at all. You have to completely vanish. Why? Because any little bit of contact keeps you as the focal point. The goal isn't just to leave, it's to actually forget them, at least for a while, so you can pour every ounce of your energy into becoming successful, all on your own.
But this isn't about just abandoning your family forever. That departure, that's only the first half of the plan. So what's the end game? What happens years later, after you've gone down this difficult path?
Well, the theory is that once you're gone, the whole system is forced to rebalance itself. The constant crisis loses its focal point. Without you to worry about, your parents have no choice but to confront their own reality. Things don't suddenly become perfect, of course not, but that downward spiral, it stops. They find a way to survive. The system stabilizes.
And listen, this journey is not quick. It's a long, lonely period of intense focus and hard work. While you are out there struggling to build your own life from nothing, your family is finding its own new, difficult balance. The whole plan comes together years later when you can finally return, not as a burden, but as a success.
Now, this might be the most surprising claim of all. The source insists that the reunion won't be full of anger or blame. And why is that? Because your success has totally changed the game. You left as the problem, but you return as the solution. You become this new source of hope and pride for the entire family. Your success validates the whole painful experience.
Okay, now let's test this same principle, but from the complete opposite angle. What if it's not about leaving, but about asking for a massive sacrifice from your family? So in this scenario, the child isn't the focal point of a crisis, but they're asking the family to risk literally everything on their future. So the question is, does the child even have the right to demand such a huge sacrifice from their parents?
The source makes a really sharp distinction here. You can't just demand a sacrifice this big. The kid who throws tantrums and says, you have to do this for me, they're going to fail because they haven't moved their parents' hearts. The child who succeeds is the one who persuades, the one who shows up with a clear, inspiring vision and proves that they are a worthy investment.
So what it really boils down to is that the burden of proof is entirely on the child. Before you can even think about asking for the family's biggest asset, you have to show them you have a plan, that you have real potential, and that your success isn't just for you. It's to honor their sacrifice and contribute to something bigger than yourself.
And that's what ties this all together. Whether it's leaving home to go succeed on your own and then coming back, or it's inspiring a massive sacrifice because of your potential, the underlying message from this source is exactly the same. In these incredibly high-stakes family situations, your value, Your worth, it can't just be assumed. It has to be proven. So what we've looked at today is one very specific, and let's be honest, very challenging perspective. It forces us to ask a really difficult question. We're all taught that loyalty means staying no matter what happens. But this philosophy, it suggests that sometimes the most profound act of love and responsibility might just be to walk away.